Call the meeting of the Bay County Board of Commissioners to order Tuesday, July 19th, 2022, 4 p.m. in the Bay County building. Call to order. Mr. Herrick is excused. Well, we'll have to excuse him later. And I will be chairing the meeting today. Roll call.
Fox. Krieger.
Yes.
Bigick.
Here.
Coonan.
Here.
Radke. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Herrick.
Motion to excuse will be in order.
Motion to excuse Commissioner Fox.
Support.
And
motion to excuse Commissioner Herrick.
Herrick also. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Invocation from clerk. All right.
Lord, we ask that you bless this session of the Board of Commissioners this day and that you lead and guide this board in the decisions made so that all citizens in this community will benefit. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the minutes from 6/14/2022.
Support?
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Citizen input. Any citizen input? Any citizen input? All right. Close citizen input. Petitions and Communications. We have a tribute to Essexville Garber girls softball team. We have the resolution, but they were not able to make it today. So I think we're going to defer. We can move the motion and accept it. We'll do the reading at the next meeting when they are able to attend.
I'll move it. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we have a presentation from Dr. William Morrone, medical examiner.
Finding name.
He has slides, I believe.
Thank you for having me. As soon as he hits my button, I'll be good. By the way, I don't really want to come back a lot. It would confuse you. You'd think we have a problem. I'd like to come back once a year to do this.
That'll be good.
By state charter and common sense for public health, the medical examiner annual report should be presented to the county commissioners and the health officer and law enforcement. So what we're doing that's just slightly different today is because COVID kind of shut everything down and it was difficult to communicate. We're going to be reviewing 2 years, and the advantage of seeing 2 years is that you can trend. Some of my slides trend 10 years. So I hope to get through maybe about 18 or 19 slides in 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll take questions. Always give a tribute to my mom and dad. And Robert Frost was at the Kennedy inauguration. He's the greatest poet of the 20th century, and he believed in being a little bit of a stinker. So kind of know which side I lie on. Here's the most important thing. Where are things happening and where do people die? Because where do we send our emergency services and law enforcement? And we divide Bay City into 48706 and 48708. And you can see that most of the deaths are occurring at the 48706. 67% of all medical examiner deaths are coming from the city, and the rest come from townships and the county. Pinconning, Cuckolin, Essexville, Munger, and our Linwood monitor. I-75 accidents are separated. That's usually Michigan State Police. And Saginaw Bay incidents. If we look at the total number of deaths, we look from 2016 to 2021, and we can see that the number of deaths increase in our community by 300-400, and it plateaus off so that in the last year of the lockdown, we really didn't have any increased deaths. But you can guarantee, because of poverty and the trend of public health centralization and not meeting certain needs in society, inflation, more people are going to die, and they're dying all across every county. Deaths are going up and autopsies are going up, so we need to keep track of this for public health. When we break down cremation permits, which is another measure, we can see that there's a dramatic shift away from burial. It is because it is cost effective, and you can see that the 2019 data is blue, 2020 data is green, 2021 data is gray, and it's pretty much up until November, December. That's a lot of stuff going on when the weather changes. And then this year, Karen Meek was good enough to get that fresh data out to me. The first 6 months of this year, gold bars are 2022, and things are pretty much following the same chronological pathways for cremation permits. If we look at the total number of permits versus the total number of deaths, you see that cremation permits are rising. We did not measure cremation permits officially prior to 2019, so there's no data there, but they're just going to go up. We went from 40% 10 years ago to 50% 7 years ago to 60 to 70% in the last 2 years. Cremations will be 80% in the next 2 or 3 years because the prohibitive cost of burial. I just want you to know that we have to manage the deceased, not just do autopsies, and I probably get about 600 calls out of 1,700 deaths. The rest go to hospice, hospital physicians that are taking care, hospitalists, internists. And of that, that green bar is 101 autopsies for this last year, 2021. And we managed 310 bodies coming in to storage in addition to our 101. And where that ends up being really important is when we switched over from McLaren to MedStar. McLaren transported all of our bodies pro bono. MedStar is going to charge us, and it would not be a bad idea if Joel and I worked out secure transportation for the deceased at a more cost-effective rate than MedStar, and that might be a future meeting, just to let you know how that happens. So let's look at 2020. When we break out our deaths, you can see that the number one source of deaths is 53% accident and 35% natural, and we have about 10% of the deaths that went to autopsy were suicide. And the numbers are off. It says 1% for homicide, or 2%. It says it's really 1%. In 2020, that was a Bay County Sheriff case, just one. And in 2021, you can see that accidents still present as the dominant form of deaths going to autopsy, and natural deaths maintain their percentage, and the homicide in 2021 was Bay City Public Safety, not the county, but we just had one. I think that's a good thing, that this is a relatively safe place to live, and people should know that. Both drug deaths are related to both homicide deaths are related to drug activity. So that's also an important thing to note. And suicides at the end of the lockdown increased from 10% to 16%, which means we probably need a little bit more support in behavioral health and primary care, surveillance and screening. What are some of the natural deaths that come through our county? I'll just highlight 2021. The differences are not that much. It's the same thing every year. 33% coronary artery disease, 33% hypertension, COPD, pneumonia, pulmonary disease. Alcoholic liver disease is a natural death, even though it's related to substance use. And pancreas comes up, and we have the same kind of thing. Here's the important part. If we break down accidents in 2020, we have a drowning, fire inhalation, asphyxia with, those are usually child death investigations, and blunt force from motor vehicle. But the dominant force, and this is, you know, a slap your hand moment, overdoses are dominating our accidental deaths. So can we get the state to help invest in behavioral health and substance use disorder? The answer is we need to, and this is 2021. Or 2021, overdoses go up even more. They are on a natural trend all across America, and I don't know if we're really measuring them well all across America. In our county, we're fastidious. We pull everything in that's suspicious, and we drug test them in autopsy, and then we send out confirmations. So we know these numbers are real. Some counties may hide their overdoses because they want more people to move there and think that, you know, it's a nicer place, but then you don't get the treatment. You really have to recognize this. So 36 out of 41 of the drug overdose deaths, 88% are fentanyl. Heroin is gone. Heroin doesn't exist anymore. And if we break down our drug overdose deaths in 2021 by age, you can see this long block from 16 to 20 out to 61 to 40 years old in the gap. The pink box is the CDC national most likely #1 source of accidental death, is that age range. From 21 to 45 years, the CDC says if it's an accidental death, drug toxicity is most likely, and you can see that that matches our data. Now, what I'd like to say, and I really do think Bay County is very special, we are a sentinel county. You can look at the data across our population and say, that's what's happening in America. And you can't do that in a lot of other places. We can say we line up with this, and guess what? We saw those fentanyl deaths at Christmas in 2015. We could predict what was going to be coming. So we are a sentinel county, and this data reinforces that. So let's just look at drug deaths for our county because they're such a huge percentage. You can see that they've naturally gone up, except for that strange year, 2016, when under the previous administration, there was a chief medical officer that signed one prescription for everybody in the state to get Narcan. It was the biggest move we could do. Now you could say, oh, but Dr. Morrone, the deaths keep going up. They would go up even more if we didn't have Narcan. Every one of our law enforcement have it on scene. It is such a critical thing. We need it in schools, we need it in libraries, we need it in public places, because you never know where this is going to happen. And why did deaths go up again in 17, 18, 19, 20? Because fentanyl was more dangerous than heroin. So we were able to keep deaths where they were at, and it looks like nothing's happening, but we're really still holding them down with the Narcan distribution. If we look at the drug deaths, and I break them out for you, morphine, oxycodone, hydrocodone, total drug deaths, total opioids out of drug and substance use, total fentanyl, fentanyl only, fentanyl with meth, fentanyl with cocaine, and kratom, you can see that really prescriptions are not the problem. We only have 3 deaths from what are prescription meds, but they were not prescribed, they were diverted. These are not medical accidents with providers. these are drugs still trading on the street. But it's only 3 out of 42 deaths. Fentanyl is everywhere, and the hard part is it's everywhere in America, and nobody really has a good answer for that because it's really dangerous. But we, again, are a sentinel county. We show America what's happening. We're a very good view, a cross-section. And here you can see what's happening in America. The blue line is prescriptions. They blunt and start falling. The dark blue line is heroin. It goes up so far, and then it starts falling. And the purple line is fentanyl. It just takes up, and it's out of control. And it represents 88 to 90% of all drug overdose deaths. And one of the statistics coming out of the National Center for Health Statistics is that for every single drug death, there are 10 people that need to be in treatment, 32 people get admitted to the emergency room, and 130 people that are actively abusing, and there's 825 that are non-medical users. So having, like 40 overdose deaths, the numbers that it impales on us, it's painful on how much that happens. So this is the advantage of, I work with other counties. I'm also the deputy for Midland County and the chief medical examiner for Tuscola and Aranac. So I'm able to take, and Dr. Bush and I are on friendly speaking terms in Saginaw, so we share data. I can bring some of that data here and say in the top 20, Bay, Saginaw, and Midland rank for drug use based on the number of overdose divided by the population, and it gives us a ratio. Obviously, the city of Detroit is the heaviest concentration of drug overdoses. And let's see. We'll take a quick look at suicide data, and then I'll take questions, and then I'll tell you where this data is going to end up. In 2020, 7 out of our 10 overdoses were gunshot wounds, and 3 were hangings. In 2021, 10 were gunshot wounds, 5 were hangings, and there was 1 asphyxia. Asphyxias tend to be people staying in a car and running the auto exhaust back to the car for suicide. So, in general, the 2 main things, I don't want to read this whole thing, there's too much here. Our morgue is easily overwhelmed, and sometimes regularly. This weekend, we had 8 bodies we were juggling for autopsy on Monday morning. We only have 5 trays. So I send stuff to my friends in Tuscola that have coolers, and I send stuff to Gift of Life, and then we coordinate things coming back. So, and the other thing that is not part of this data is the number of unclaimed bodies, families that have too much poverty and are in fractured relationships just don't claim the deceased. And we have to figure out what to do, and it's not easy. So, this entire report is written as a report, and Joel and I will publish this in 3 weeks on the Health Department webpage, and you'll have all this data. I'll probably make maybe 8 or 9 paper copies. I'll give one to Executive Barsha, one to Sheriff, one to Public Safety, and leave a couple others with Joel and Karen Mika. But this entire report will be on the web, everything that I showed you. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Coonan?
Yes.
Yes, Doctor. You mentioned a couple of things, and I just want to get it clear in my mind. The fentanyl is a prescribed drug.
Okay, this is a very good question. In the past, fentanyl was a patch. It is no longer killing people as a patch. That was 13, 14 years ago. Fentanyl is a powder that is a bootleg import from China that has replaced illegal drug pipeline heroin. Every fentanyl death here is not prescription fentanyl. It is illegal drug pipeline fentanyl. And that is where America is suffering today, is heroin was just too expensive. And, I mean, you have to grow it, you have to boil it, you have to acetylate it, then you have to dry it. Fentanyl, you just make it in a lab, and it's 30 to 100 times more potent than heroin. Every fentanyl death, when you look at that purple column, that's 100% bootleg imported fentanyl in the drug pipeline with dealers. Does that help?
Tremendously.
Okay.
Now, you talked about mental health, tying it all into all these deaths. And I'm a believer that with the demise or the decline of the middle class over the last 40 years, where people could have left high school, gotten a job, married their high school sweetheart, bought a home, been part of the social fabric of a community, of the school system. That doesn't exist, but that hasn't existed in the numbers it did 40 years ago. So people, correct me if, so people aren't living the American dream over the last 40, as many people aren't living the American dream over the last 40 years. Therefore, they, they're not happy. They get depressed, and when you get depressed, maybe you self-medicate, and I think a lot of it is due to the fact that over the past 40 years, it's been the powers that be that wanted to outsource jobs, and I know technology has reduced the number of jobs as well, but somehow we got to give people the opportunity to live the American dream like we did in the past, and I think people are self-medicating because they look at what maybe their parents or grandparents had, and they don't have that, and they get down in the dumps, and what do? You try to make yourself feel better. Ultimately, you just give up.
I think there are two words that you used twice: self-medicate. It is a totally foreign concept from something 20 years ago that you would trade prescription drugs with friends, family, and strangers. That just didn't happen. That is now so casual because it's too hard to get in to see your doctor. Your friends know where all the illegal drugs are. And why would I wait 4 weeks for Prozac to kick in when I could do fentanyl or methamphetamine and feel good in about 5 minutes? And that mindset is real. People in medical school just don't understand that. And that is the casuality of the introduction of self-medication under the stress of poverty, employment, and self-identity. Wow. I said that? But if you look at this, look at the ages of overdose. Between 46 and 50, you've got 4 people dying of drug overdose. That's fentanyl. Between 51 and 60, when have we ever heard of 60-year-olds dying of IV drug use? This is just insane that it's going on this way. And the introduction of fentanyl, forgive me for sounding too liberal on this, we had heroin for 100 years, and we never saw deaths like this. I don't want to ever be chastised for saying heroin was soft or heroin was safe, because it wasn't. But people who've used heroin for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, they get fentanyl and they die. It's just, there's no control. And it's everywhere. Self-medication is the problem. We have to be able to address that in mental health and primary care. And I don't see us going in that direction unless we are not going to solve this problem in the margins of a report. We need to overhaul the model of how we're reaching out to these people. Start reaching out to them in high school, reach out to them at work. We have a lot of screening on safe drug use that is done in some states on the West Coast and in Boston and New York that we need to start doing in the Great Lakes and the Middle West. It's nothing for your primary care provider to ask you if you have a gun in your house. Fentanyl kills more people than guns. We need to start screening the depression and drug use, and sometimes that means spending money for drug testing. in primary care to help people to understand where they are, because they don't always tell you the truth when you ask them, but they're looking for help. There's not enough places. Now, I can tell you the overdose deaths, they're higher in Saginaw, but it's a higher population base. We see what's happening in America. Fentanyl is disruptive, and it's fracturing families, and it is so toxic right now that even on scene, our officers have to wear double gloves or thick gloves, and our officers' first dose of Narcan is for them. That's how dangerous it is. So thank you for that, but the two most important words you said, self-medicate, and you said it twice. We need to interrupt that cycle.
Mr. Krieger?
Thank you. So, Doctor, the 20 years I've been here, this is very enlightening, and I appreciate the fact that you're so engaged with this and want to share this information. And I'm sure, with Joel, you guys are working with Bayer Neck Behavioral Health, and we put together some different programs, especially one where somebody may have an overdose, where a team will come and work with that individual to try to get them the help that's needed so that they don't, fall back in the same pitfall that they've gotten themselves into. So I know that they're working on different programs, trying to come up with ways of helping individuals that are looking for help to get them away from this. So again, I appreciate you coming in and putting this program.
The specific model you're looking at is called RRT or QRT, Quick Response Team or
Yep.
Rapid Response Team.
Yep.
And the information is let out of EMS that there was an overdose with a certain person at a certain house. And I can tell you that Chief Cicchini and Lori Zilkowski go to the homes of people that are recently overdosed and ask them for help in this QRT model. It's not evidence-based yet, so the state's not pouring a lot of money into it, and it's kind of one of those novel things that people say, we have a little bit of money in the general fund and you can try this out. But the next step after identifying them is, what is evidence-based is when you take somebody who's had a non-fatal overdose and you get them into treatment as soon as you can. Now, we have a program, I'm also in Shiawassee County with one of my clinics, that the day somebody overdoses in ER, they start them on 2 days of Suboxone, and they see us on day 3. We enroll them, we continue prescribing, and we get counseling once a week. And we've brought overdose deaths down in Shiawassee County because we begin treatment in the emergency room. To this day, Mid-Michigan, Covenant, Ascension, and McLaren do not have a program that starts that, and that's where QRT picks up. It goes to the community, but the evidence-based is if you get them treatment, they stop dying.
And I know that we're also looking at putting the same program up in Aranac.
Yes, and I was up talking to Aranac, and they wanted to start with a drug court.
Yep.
Because part of this is interrupting the crime-drug cycle. And that's where these drugs spread so fast like wildfire, is that people are drawn because of poverty into questionable activities and the crime-drug cycle. If we can get into the drug court, that would really help
I
a lot.
think Judge Gill has done a wonderful job with the drug court that we have in Bay County. So
Yes.
I think we're moving in the right direction. It's just unfortunate we haven't had the money to make it happen faster.
That is the hammer on the nail.
Yep. So thank you for what you've done.
All right, like I said, we will have this report posted on our webpage in about 21 days.
Any other questions? Mr. Marshall?
Dr. Morrone, the source of the fentanyl, is that synthetic fentanyl coming from China? Do you think it's coming across the border, or are people ordering it online?
In the beginning, people were experimenting with it on the web, but the DA can follow that, and they show up to your house and they shut it down. The DA interrupted because it has to be paid for, and there's a lot of accountants that work there, and it's easy crime that way. The deaths that we're seeing are the synthetic fentanyl that we know is being made in Southeast Asia, China, some of it in India, and it just became cheaper than heroin. It's more dangerous, and we see the end result here, but we show exactly the highest age range of what's dying. When we say that the CDC says you're likely to die of an overdose accident in that age range in the pink box, 80% of that is the synthetic fentanyl that's bootlegged into the drug pipeline. That's not accidents, as in, well, I didn't know what I was doing. That's people using drugs because their brains have been hijacked.
Thank you.
I just want to say, okay.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So I apologize for being late. So if you talked about this, I would have missed it, but, so you shared, I believe, some thoughts on addressing it after someone ODs. But couple questions, what can we as a community do to prevent that or address it before it gets to that point? And then what happens between the 20-year-olds to the 20-something-year-olds that use of the drugs increases so much?
There are three things we need to do. We really need to interrupt plain medical care for drug use screening. I'm talking OB, pediatrics, family practice, and ER visits. Our ER visits are for a reason, not always for drug overdose, but we need to ask those questions because we talk about domestic violence, because we talk about guns in the house. We need to add to that list, do you or anybody close to you suffer? Because 1 in 4, 25% of Americans have drug abuse or alcohol abuse in their family. We need to screen that out and then get people to help. The hardest part was in the lockdown, everything was shut and it was all telemedicine. But our clinic runs a mobile unit, and we're in 10 different cities. We're in Shiawassee, we're in Essexville. We're trying to get that message out. And then the same kind of messages that we've had about alcohol, we need to put those messages into junior highs, middle schools, high schools, and colleges that drug use is not safe. And if you're involved in that, the signs are you're out of control, it's going to affect your job, you're going to end up in jail. The number one risk factor for a fatal overdose is a previous non-fatal overdose. And who's those people? Those people, the number one category is people coming out of the hospital, coming out of treatment where they've been taken off all their drugs, and coming out of incarceration. And what we hope to do is reduce jail populations by getting people treatment, stop getting arrested, get a job, rebuild your families, and that goes to the cycle that he talked about, that American dream. I can see people 2, 3, and 4 years later that restructured in treatment and built their lives back, but the key word there is interdiction. You have to get them early. One of the worst people in Hollywood for heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and alcohol was Robert Downey Jr. He will tell you people came to him and they interdicted, they interceded, and then he became Iron Man. It's interdiction, it's interceding, it's having that moment. You know what, one of the things, maybe somebody's gonna ban me if I say this, we need to screen in churches. You know, houses of faith. We need to reach out. This is not those guys over there problem. You know all sorts of people that are stuck on substances. You just don't know which ones they are. That's before it gets that bad. Middle schools, high schools, churches, everything. Primary care, OB. So I hope that helps.
It does, thank you.
One more point, we talked a bit earlier about primary care and, you know, people don't have primary care doctors. They use the ER, they use the urgent care. They don't have a doc to talk to them about an interdiction.
And if they have a doctor, that doctor is 20 years past what we're training people now to screen. So even the young doctors, they don't want to touch this because it's been a character and a stigmatic issue. We need to open up. Not to get that non-fatal overdose means reaching out before that. So, but I hope this data is helpful. And like I say, I think we're a really safe place. I love this county. We're a sentinel, that is with an S, S-E-N-T, not F. We're a sentinel county. We show America where they're going, and we can make a difference. So this report will be on our webpage.
Motion to receive will be in order.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have our Ways and Means Chair, Commissioner Fox is here.
All right. Resolution number 2022-137, the BXBS Inmate Services Contract. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-138, the Region 7 Area Agency on Aging, the multi-year plan. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-139, the Civic Arena Capital Projects. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? Mr. Coon?
Kristen, did we ever contact Bangor's DDA on maybe contributing something to that project?
I sit on Bangor's DDA.
They've got some money, right?
Yes and no. Things have changed over the course of the years where they are capped at a $500,000 balance. And so I can talk to them about this. It would have to.
I'm just saying that as if they were to contribute something, then we would have more dollars to help
Sure.
somebody else as well.
I could explore that idea. Yep. Again, since I sit on the board, I'd have to recuse myself from voting, but
Oh, I'm not asking you to vote. I'm just
Okay.
asking if they have money in there
they
that
have,
could be used.
I can look into it, yep.
Because this will eliminate all the money that we have. So if they could come up with some money, then we would have more money to help somebody somewhere. Maybe it could be with Shauna's program, or, Mr. Prince's program. But is it something that we may want to check out?
I can look into that, yep.
So would we just refer this?
Is that the motion?
Motion to refer, just to get us some information.
I'll support that.
Any more discussion? So it'd be referred back to administration for check on other funds?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Auburn's still looking for a lift station, by the way. That was at their meeting last night. Auburn has requested a lift station. I've told them we were not doing much infrastructure work, so. Number 4.
Okay, resolution number 2022-140, around-the-clock healthcare services at the juvenile home. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 2022-141, the juvenile home door replacement. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-142, the on-base training and conference in Nashville, Tennessee. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-143, the amendment to resolution number 2022-14, the Bay Area Community Foundation ARPA allocation. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-144, general fund payables. I move this resolution. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Back to you.
All righty, we have Personal and Human Services, Commissioner Johnson.
All right, we'll start with resolution number 2022-145, the Gypsy Moth Renewal Ballot Question. I move this resolution. Support.
Discussion?
Question. What is the additional amount on someone's taxes or their,
This is a straight renewal.
This
so
one's a
there's
renewal.
no-
oh, it's just nothing different?
renewal.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
All right, and we're discussing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-146, Senior Citizens Operating Millage Increase. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-147, 911 Central Dispatch Millage Increase. I move this resolution. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And resolution number 2022-148, Animal Services New Millage Levy. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-149, Senior Service Employment Program Worksite Agreement. I move this resolution.
Support. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-150, Agreement with Wright Risch Consulting LLC. I move this resolution. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-151, vacancies at 911 Central Dispatch, Animal Services, Department on Aging, with some new positions at the Health Department and Department on Aging. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-152, unpaid leave of absence for Tammy Haberland, Department of Aging. I move this resolution. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, resolution number 2022-153, waiver of hiring policy to hire WIC breastfeeding peer counselor at 2-year step. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I believe that is all. We have our Mr. Ratke taking care of my report this time.
Yes. I'd
Thank you.
like to move resolution number 2022-154, reports of the county executive.
Support.
Move the resolution. Yep. All those in support? Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next up, resolution number 2022-155, the ratification of collective bargaining agreement with the USW Probate Court. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? Mr. Coonan?
Tiffany, you're doing a great job. How many more we got
2 full-time units and
Pardon?
2 full-time units and 1 part-time unit.
left? Okay.
A lot earlier than we've been in the past. Thank you. Any discussion otherwise? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, resolution number 2022-156, the concurrence with the county executive's recommended reappointment of Brian Cleo, Trevor Keys, and Chris Taylor to Michigan Workforce Development Board of Directors for Prosperity Region Number 5. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That is all. Report of county officials, county executive. Any report today?
Not a lot of stuff, but I will mention that at the Veterans Committee today, Mr. Leonard Norman gave his report on and updated us on the work that he's doing to identify all of the veterans' graves in Bay County. And so far, we've got most of the smaller cemeteries done with 2,357 graves from Civil War all the way to peacetime to this year. And he's doing a great job, and the 4 largest cemeteries are yet to be done. He started in the north and worked his way down. He gave a comprehensive report, and he's doing a great job. I don't know if Craig would want to add anything to that, but also I just wanted to mention, I know that Commissioner Johnson is always very proud of the accomplishments and accolades by the athletes in his part of the county. And John Glenn High School had their pom-pom squad was featured on America's Most Wanted. That would just mention. America's, yeah. Those are America's Got Talent. Can tell I don't usually watch it, so. Yeah, but I'd say we've got a lot of reasons to be proud of our young people in Bay County. They're bringing distinction, and I think a lot of accolades to our county. And so whether they're champion athletes or whether they're pom-pom folks, the national exposure, that's tremendous. So just wanted to mention that. And also say that Mr. Norman's doing a great job. And we appreciate the state grant that we got that paid for his salary to identify all of these veterans' graves so they get the honor and the recognition that they deserve for serving our country.
Thank you. Most of the receivers' report will be in order.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unfinished business, appointment to Bay County DHHS Board, Francis DeWyse.
So moved.
I don't know if we're ready to do that yet. I guess we need to get official ruling.
Mr. Chair, the board had requested that I look into the Incompatible Public Offices Act to determine whether or not Ms. DeWyse would be able to serve in this position if she was appointed by the board. There are 3 ways that someone can be disqualified from serving in 2 incompatible offices. One is if that one office subordinates itself to the other. The second method is if there's a supervision of one public office by another, and the third is if there's a breach of duty of public office. This appointment to the DHHS board would not constitute a conflict under the first 2 provisions of this statute. There is a possibility that it could constitute a conflict under the 3rd provision of the statute if, in fact, there is a contract between the medical care facility and the township. I've checked with Ms. DeWyse, and she has stated that there is not currently any contract. So at this point in time, she would be able to serve on both boards without there being an issue with the incompatible offices. However, if at any point in time there is a contract that she's required to vote on by either board, she can't simply just recuse herself. She would have to actually withdraw from one of those positions. So she currently could serve in that position without it being an incompatible office. However, at some time in the future, if she is asked to do something such as sign a contract, negotiate a contract between those 2 entities, or do something such as assess a special assessment district on the property where the medical care facility is located, she can't recuse herself from that vote. She would just have to remove herself from one of those offices and resign from one of those offices. So with that understanding, in the appointment process, she's okay right now, but at some point in time, something may come up where she might have to actually resign from that position.
So moved. Support.
So,
Is there currently a contract between the county and the township in any way?
Excuse me?
There's no, just to clarify, there's no contract in place right now?
There's no contract between Hampton Township and the medical care facility, correct?
so everybody understands that if that would happen, she would have to step down from one of the positions. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any new business? Any miscellaneous?
Actually do. I do.
Commissioner Fox?
I have here for the county a copy of the Pinconning Sesquicentennial book that they put together in honor of his 150th birthday party. My dad's in it, actually, but it's really well done. And it goes through the history of Pinconning and how it got there where we are today. There are some order forms of him in here if anyone's interested, but they are asking that you order by August 1. So this is the county's copy.
Any other announcements? Mr. Krieger?
Thank you. So Jim mentioned about the palms from John Glenn. They're actually going to be on tonight at 8 o'clock. So just to make sure that I would encourage everyone to watch and beat on our chest on how proud we are of them. So, thank you.
And another announcement? Yes.
Yes, sir. All right, so just to give, sort of like, we had set up the resolution for the Essexville Garber softball team to be able to come in here and be recognized, and they were all excited about it. And then they realized after they got all excited that about 9 of the members were going to be busy at a volleyball camp that's out of town. So we wanted to make sure that we moved that to August 9th to be able to go ahead and get more of the ladies here and their coaches to be able to honor them appropriately. So just wanted to go ahead and make that clear. So they're very excited to be here. Just wanted to make sure that we let everybody know that they wanted to, but it just wouldn't work out today. Also wanted to go ahead and let everybody know about the Munger Potato Festival. Not like anybody has to, like, there's signs all over the place. But the Munger Potato Festival is coming up Thursday, July 28th through Sunday the 31st. All kinds of great activities that you get used to. Of course, you've got the figure eight derby, you've got the demolition derby that they do there. They've got the food tent that is back, and it's being run and sponsored by Central High School. Their booster group, their athletic group, and Kids Day activity on Saturday, July 30th in the morning at 9:30 a.m. They'll be doing some kids activities. And of course, the entertainment tent, got music every single night, but Sunday, the Kowalski Brothers Polka Band is going to be there. Who doesn't like a good polka band, right? So if you get the opportunity, go ahead and enjoy the festivities in Munger. I'm sure they'll be happy to have everybody there that they can get there.
Going on now to the 30th of this month, we have the Bissell adoption event going on. So dogs are $25, kittens are $20, and adult cats are $5. So step out and see us. We have plenty.
Yep. And I have one announcement for all you public servants out here and TV land are here. Your campaign finance reports are due by Friday at 4 o'clock. If not, they'll come looking for you. Well, they'll find you, but 4 o'clock today, any public servant that's running for office, file those reports. That's all. Any more? A motion to adjourn would be in order.
About appointments.
Appointments, sorry, got to do those. 2022 appointments, October, Land Bank Authority, 1 township representative, 3-year term expiring, Ron Campbell. Department of Health and Human Services, Board of Directors, 1 3-year term, Kim Bijak, I always pronounce her name wrong. December, Veterans Affairs Committee, 1 4-year term expiring, Marilyn Lazar. Department on Aging Advisory Committee, 4 2-year terms expiring, Districts 2, 4, 6, and at large. That's all. Now we can ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.
Obviously, we need to